I'm just wondering if you have my presentation or not. Okay. Who cares? All right. Thank you very much for that really nice introduction. Thanks for having me here. It's a pretty cool event. To start with, I'm the managing director of the Pioneers Festival based in Vienna. And I'm asking who of you does not know Pioneers or Pioneers Festival? Does not know. Oh, wow. That's quite a lot. Okay, we have to change that. That's what we're here for, right? Okay, to put it in one sentence, we say it's the leading event where future tech and science meet entrepreneurship. Or to put it in a different way, it's a future tech entrepreneurship event. And it's something totally different than all the startup, web, mobile conferences, events that you see out there. Where do we have to put this one? There? Does it work? To you? No, it's not working. So, some tech support, it doesn't work at all. Thank you. All right, so what I want to talk about today is future tech and people, and the question that you can ask yourself about, are you ready to pioneer, and are you yourself a pioneer? But I want to start with a little bit of history. I think that's important, because I love that in the panel, one of the guys said that before the guy on the panel. It's like, you're pretty good in building stuff from scratch and from nothing. And that's why, I mean, there are the similarities in our story. Because when we started, it was like 4 or 5 years ago, and there were 10 guys from the technical university and 10 guys from the business university. And they thought, okay, we don't want to go like this normal career path, so go to university, then afterwards go into a job, and then die one day. On the other hand, they saw that their youth unemployment rates, for example, in Spain are for about 60%, and financial crisis and all that stuff. And they were like, okay, it seems like that the governments are not the ones that are going to change that, and also the big corporates are not. So there has to be someone else, so why not the young entrepreneurs? But to be honest, like these 20 guys, they had no fucking idea about the whole thing. Like, nobody of them was an entrepreneur before or something. Just students saying we have to do something else. And so what they said, okay, we have to set it up somehow, and let's kick something off. So maybe arrange a little meetup, like really basic thing. And maybe there are some other peoples from the other countries that we can invite, and maybe they can help us. We have some hidden champions in Austria or in Vienna. Let's see what we can bring together. And the very first event that we had was about 40 people, and 20 of them were the organizers. Yeah, so it started really, really, really small. And but then they did it 2, 3 times again, and more people came, and also people from abroad. And they were just like, that's pretty awesome what you're doing. Even that it's small and so on, but there's a lot of potential in it, and that we don't have something like this in our region, or in our city. So why don't you come over to our city, or can we bring it there somehow? We're just like, well, yeah, cool, why not? If you love that, let's do this. And so at this time, we set up the first product, so to say. It's something like a startup weekend. So it's a weekend program where you bring together startups and mentors and so on, and you work on business models and stuff like this, really basic and very, very early. And we rolled it out actually in all over Europe. So it took us maybe a year or something. We had covered about 20 cities. And the cool thing is that it was then in 2011, and we were good at this time then in organizing events, maybe like for 100 to max 150 people, so still very, very small. We're just like, we have all these guys, we have so many friends now, this community in Europe, let's bring them all together. We're like, yeah, cool, let's do this. And we're still like, okay, we have no fucking idea what we're doing there. We're still just students, not even company, nothing behind it. And then we had these discussions in the office, like, okay, what do we want to achieve? Like, and how many people do we expect? So what kind of venue do we need? And we're just like, how many people will come there? Like maybe 400 or something, or maybe a bit more. And then it was Jürgen, actually, like the co-founder of the company, he was like, okay, we're going for 1,000 people. We're like, yeah, sure, 1,000 people, let's do this. This guy's crazy. But then we booked the venue and so on, and in the end, the whole thing was called Startup Week at this time. So it was also an event for about 4 days, so way too long. You know, we're already here for 2 days, and yeah. And we had over 130 speakers or something. It was way too many, but it was cool on the other side. And I mean, we achieved the other thing, that we had 1,300 people coming there, and it made us like instantly as one of the biggest events in the region. And we were like, that's pretty awesome. And we've proven it to ourselves that this is possible. And that there is a market for it. And that we help the CE region with that. I mean, this is where we're coming from. The whole thing, right in the very early days, like this organizational group from students was called Start Vienna. And then we started to go to Europe and it was like Start Europe. And we're like, awesome, yeah? And then we were just like, okay, that worked out pretty well. Let's go on, let's do this again. But as I said in the beginning, there was a very basic web mobile startup conference. We're just like, does Europe need another one? Because at this time also other ones were popping up. We're like, no, we don't need that. Not again. And what else do we need then? And we had no idea, again. And then came the turn. It took us 3 months to figure out the whole thing. And it happened with Peter Thiel. I think everybody knows him. And there's a TV show, it's called Through the Night With. I don't know if you've heard about this one. What they're doing is they always take 2 big guys and they put them together a full day, like 24 hours, and they put always the camera on these 2 guys. And they're just talking to each other, maybe walking around, having breakfast together, going to museums, whatever. In the end, they put it together in something like a 45 minutes episode. And then stream it on television. I think it's also on YouTube and so on. And this time it was Peter Thiel and Garry Kasparov, the chess player. And they were talking about innovation and where it's going to. And Peter Thiel was then a guy saying, well, when you look, especially in the web mobile area, everything is going like this. But what about all the other areas? So what about artificial intelligence? What about robotics? What about health? What about, for example, airplanes? Just a plane that you maybe came with here. These planes are using the same technologies that already existed in the 70s. So for the last 40 years, there wasn't any really groundbreaking innovation in that area. And that was the question, why? So maybe is there a lack of money, a lack of R&D, a lack of access to it, maybe a lack of entrepreneurs, guys really interested in that and taking all these challenges? And we're like, wow, that's a pretty good point, Peter. Thank you very much for that. So then we said, okay, seems to be that this is the thing that we should focus on, and this is where the future is in. And then we cut off the whole Start Europe and whatever thing, and we said, okay, we have to find a new name. And then we thought, okay, the best thing might be pioneers, because this is really about pioneer stuff. And so we defined the fields that we're in a position in the intersection where science and technology meets entrepreneurship. And I want to explain to you why is that and why you need that. All right. So what is science? Science I understand as, this is the thing that is gives us the ground to the major changes and improvements in our life. Like without science, there wouldn't be anything really. And we have to go into these R&D labs and so on and see what are these guys working on, right? And we have to take these innovations and inventions that are coming out of the science area. And then you have technology. And I want to paint the picture. It's like, okay, you find something really cool out of science. So this is here. And then there's a door. And you want to go through the door because behind the door is the future, the bright future that we want to work onto, right? This is, I mean, everybody of us should work on something that makes our life better. So this is where you want to go through. And you have the science here, and you're in there. So what do you need then? Well, then you need technology. Because I think technology is like the key that you need to open the door. This is like the enabler. That's what can make a product and scale and so on, or the phone that you have in your pocket and so on. So this is like the technology behind it. And then you need another guy, exactly this guy that wants to make that step, and that's the entrepreneur. That's the one who takes action. Because you can have a great scientific thing here, and you can have a great technology, but if there's not the right person who wants to use it and make something really great of that, well, then it's useless. So this is the kind of triangle. Okay? Good. Then there are some other things. Information is super important, and the attitude and inspiration. This really goes out to the people also here. Because what I love about Steve Jobs is this one quote. I want to read it out. He said, everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you, and you can change it, you can influence it, you can build your own things that other people can use. So if you just take that sentence, and you really inherently understand that, and this is from a guy that was really smart, I mean, then it seems like everything's possible, right? And that's what we've heard before. That's something that we have to see more. And these days, I think we are much more empowered, or more empowered than ever before, to tackle the grand challenges that are out there. So what does it mean? And why is that? We call it like the new age of pioneering that we're living at the moment. So we have access to resources like never before. And I want to give you one personal example on that. So I was looking into, okay, what's going out there, now then Raspberry Pis were coming up, and Arduino and so on. I was like, cool, I would love to have one of these. Do you know anyone who has an Arduino or something? This mini computer stuff. So I'm not a developer at all, and I have no idea about hardware on that side, really to build something. I tried it for a couple of times. Most of the time it's failed before. And I said, okay, but there's this technology, let's get one. So I've received this package, I open it, beautiful design and everything. I have the Arduino, awesome, and what can I do with it? I have no idea. So I opened up Google and just, Arduino projects, what can I do? And I find this one from a guy, I think from Helsinki or something. And he was just like giving you the menu of it, like saying, okay, this is how you make a mind-controlled robot. And I was like, awesome, let's build this. And actually, I built it. This is in my dad's garage. Me then wearing an EEG and connecting it to the Arduino. I made it out of it a little car robot. In the end, it's measuring your brain waves, and then it drives. It's like, it's a mind-controlled robot. It's like, that's what I'm building. Awesome. I mean, tell that to your grandma. She's saying like, "You're a genius." And no, I'm not. But you see, I mean, this is access to these resources that we have these days. And on the other side, it's the access to people. We don't have to talk much about that. This is just like, I mean, everybody has a phone, there's Skype, and so on. But also just like access to someone in Helsinki who gives me that information. Awesome. When you think about the devices that are connected, so in 2020 there should be 50 to 75 billion connected devices. Do you know how many we have today? Any guess? Yeah, how many billion connected devices? So my resource told me that at the moment we have 9 billion connected devices. Think about it, this is going to be in 6 years. So this is going to multiply. New people having access to the internet and all that stuff. Like, this is crazy. I mean, this is a bright future. So everybody who's working on products like this in a startup is like, wow, I mean, my customers will come pretty soon, and massive of them, right? So this is pretty cool. That is the same thing I said before, like this access to information. It's something totally different these days. And we had this talk also from Twitter, Uber, and so on. All these services and products are built on the access on information, and people are able and willing to share it with you. And I think access to funding. Just one comment with access to funding. That's also what we heard from Stefan yesterday. Was it looks much better these days than like maybe 10, 20 years ago. True. And I just think if you have a great idea and you're the right person to build it, and you have the passion behind it, then you will also get the money. To be honest, if you're a startup and you have tried already for a shitty long time to get funded, I mean, think about it. I think there are main 3 reasons why you don't get funded. Number 1, maybe your product is shit. Number 2, maybe you're not the right guy to build it. So maybe it's a cool thing, but you don't fit to it in a way. Or number 3 is you're just talking to the wrong people. So maybe you always try to hit the big VCs or something, and for sure they're not interested in it because you need a business angel. Just figure that out. Maybe there are more reasons. Dramatically falling costs. To give you one example, this is like the cost of a gigabyte of RAM. I don't know, it was 1966, and this is like 512 whatever $trillion or something. I don't know. And when you go down there, this is like in 2012, it was about $1. So this is also why I'm able to build a mind control robot, because this stuff I can buy now. If you go even more into what we are able to do these days, now it's like that one person really can change or create a whole industry. So here I have prepared us for MakerBot, who totally revolutionized 3D printing. Or you have this guy, Elon Musk. Who doesn't know Elon Musk? Okay, so this guy was PayPal, Tesla, SpaceX, and SolarCity. So it's like 4 industries and one main brain in a way behind it. We know PayPal Mafia, so something else. But even if you're not such a super smart brain, here's the good news. Also, small teams can have a really big impact these days. I think, what was it, WhatsApp, 50 people or something? Yeah. Or this is Google driverless car. I mean, even though there's Google behind it, it's a team of 6 building it. It's like crazy. And I love these guys over there, and I already see I think 5 more minutes for sure. These guys are based in San Francisco, and they're building nano satellites. So just think about just have the scenario in your mind. It's like, wow, I want to become an entrepreneur. I'm super passionate behind it, but I have no idea what I should do. And I was like, well, make a space startup. It's like, yeah, no, what? What should I build? What is space startup? Yeah, well, make satellites. Satellites, yeah, they don't fit on the stage, and they cost millions, billions, and how should I shoot them up to space? No fucking idea. And it's just like, yeah, well, there's a team of 4 people. They're doing it. They're building nanosatellites. Actually, when you talk to them, most of the parts you can buy on Amazon or wherever in the internet. How to assemble it, you can also find in the internet. And the only thing that you really need then is actually an engineer who assembles the thing then, for sure. And you need some developers that put in the brain into the satellite. So they have already launched the first rockets together with SpaceX, so Elon Musk rockets. So the first of these little satellites are already in space. It's like, they're disrupting it. All right. The next one, besides the information, it was step 1, the importance and the skills. So what does that mean? Yeah, I want to read out that what Mark Suster said. I don't know. Here's a problem on the screen. Make sure it's in your personality type. Make sure you have the risk appetite. Make sure you can afford to take the risks given your life situations. Make sure you know that there's a high possibility your startup won't be huge financially rewarding. And if you still want to go for it, knowing all this, that's pretty awesome. So that means, is it really that important to you? Do you really want to do this? Yes or no? And now this one is also, it's broken again, seems like. That's bad. It's not working anymore. I don't know, there's also a problem on the screen here. It's broken.
Can you fix it, please?
Would be cool.
Right
oh,
now.
there's, no, it's going on there.
Salute.
Exactly. So, who knows this scene from Matrix? Morpheus is like saying, do you want to have the blue pill or the red one? It's like, even when you have this now, I mean, this is like, he's offering, like, hey, there's another world out there. This everything you know is totally wrong. And it's like, there is, you have, now he's like giving the access to the information. That's the whole thing that I talked about before. And the access to the resource and so on. And it's just like, but do you really want to do this? So is it important to you? Do you really care about that? So you have to make the step in the end. You have to make the decision for yourself. And that's what Mark figured out before. It's like, when you want to do this, I mean, it's a lot about emotions, it's a lot about risk, it's a lot about uncertainty. And in the end, everything really comes down to the confidence that you have to give to yourself and maybe your team. So, and that's something you have to give to yourself all the time, because the startup life is a fucking roller coaster, as we all know. Or in other words, really pioneering is an attitude of life. That's something that you have to have in yourself in a way. And wake up in the morning and saying, this is what I want to do. This is cool, even when it's running bad or difficult at the moment. And it's about people. So this is what I love about also coming here to Bulgaria and so on. I think we're living in a, or at least the startup community that I'm growing up with is one that's really happy to share, where we're working together in a way. So I think I'm a big friend really of creating stuff together. And if we see, I mean, there can be done a lot of stuff in Europe and also abroad. And I love it when people from the US, Turkey, and everywhere, people come together, having beer together and seeing what can we do together. And that's a pretty cool thing. It's a people's business that we're in. And on the other side, the most important team, so to say, and people you have to work with is your team in itself. And I've seen it in some teams that I've been working together with. You really need a balanced teams. And then you can really tackle the bigger problems, or yeah, that are coming up on your side. And if you're now in the audience, maybe you're saying, that's pretty cool what he's talking about, but I'm not in a startup at the moment, and I don't know what I should do, or can I do something with my skills? Then it's like, yes, sure. And you can do it in 2 ways. Number 1, maybe you already have the skills, so you're a front-end developer or something that a startup is looking for. Or number 2, you say, I'm willing to go into this step and make this jump, and I will be able to learn fast. This is like the message that you send out to yourself. So, and to sum up on that side, it's about yes or no. So number 1, yes, there's information. I really also want to read it. I want to take it and work with it. And number 2, do I really care about that much? All right. And then number 3 is then, we're pioneers. We're still pioneers, and we have barely begun. What does that mean? This is what I said. We're living in this new age of pioneering these days. So that means the empowerment of the people, the acceleration of the technology and science on that side, and what comes out of that, there are absolutely new challenges out there, but cool stuff. So I just want to click through this really, really quickly, just to give you some areas, some markets that are really hot, and where I say, okay, if you give me something really cool in that market, so then you're on my side, because I really get bored. I mean, web mobile is a super huge market, but I get bored if there's a startup pitching, saying, yeah, we have the next Travelers app, and I'm saying, oh no, please. There are other things that you can do with your skills, but still, as we've seen, there are going to be some billion more connected devices. Health is a really cool thing. This is something that we had last year at the festival, the exobionics. Anybody knows the exoskeleton, what it is? All right, so we had this lady who was sitting in a wheelchair, and she was putting this on and started walking again. Everybody was just like, Jesus. It's cool. It's solving a real problem and having an impact. There's even more. I love this guy down there, Neil Harbison. Have you heard about him? He has also a pretty cool TED Talk. So this guy is colorblind, but he wants to know if that what is standing in front of me is a red T-shirt, a blue T-shirt, what is it? So you put a sensor in his brain. That's what you see what's coming out there, and it's reaching in front, and he can hear colors. So it's quite funny, because he's now always saying, well, this person doesn't look good, but the person sounds good. So when you talk about the clothing and so on. So he's like the first real cyborg, and he's now together with some other guys working on a cyborg foundation, where people just use technology to enable their body and themselves to do something new that has never been done before. Energy, for sure, is a huge thing. Aerospace is going down to the nanosatellites that I've been talking before. But then there's the really cool new challenges, like the asteroid mining, for example. And we're working on that already, right? AI and robotics, as you see here, robots become more and more humanized, and we are working more and more together with them. So what you see here, for example, is the Baxter robot. This is a robot that you really can directly communicate with and work with and teach stuff and so on without being a developer or something. So this is something you can really put on the production line, and this is cooperating with the guy working there. This was pretty cool. This is from the biotechnology. So what they're doing is they're working on the genes from trees and plants and so on, and make them glow. So what does it mean? In the future, maybe in the city, you don't have street lamps or street lights anymore, but you have trees there that shine, make light. That's crazy stuff, but pretty cool. 3D printing, for sure. The Internet of Everything, I'm very much looking forward to beacons now. We're going to use them this year at the festival for the first time. Nest and so on, you know all that. Wearable technology, and I mean, this is like super cool, isn't it? I mean, I love that. It just starts with your phone. I mean, we had that, one speaker yesterday had that, like, the question, who's sleeping with your phone? I mean, this is true, and if it's a lovely, cool designed product, I mean, this is something awesome, just. So just to sum it up in that way again, it's like, what you need is like the information, important skills, and the market or the area that you want to go into. And I love the quote that is just saying, whenever you see a successful business, someone once made a really courageous decision. I think it's true, and that's like kudos to all the guys who are working on startups and are entrepreneurs on that side. All right. If you love that, what I've talked about, and you're asking yourself, like, okay, what is then going to be the next really cool future thing, and you're looking for a shortcut to predict the future, well, there is one, because it's always science fiction before it's science. So Star Trek is actually really predicting the future since 1966. Look at that stuff. Check that stuff out, seriously. It's really cool. So what is the main message that I wanted to bring to you, and this is now the end of the speech, is the future is ours to create, right? And just to really prove that I'm not talking about any bullshit, these are just some of the stuff that we had at the Pioneers Festival in the last 2 years. So this is what you see. This is something that I really love. The car here, this is the fastest electric car in the world. And it's not, that's just what I want to say, it's not made by some US whatever who, it's a 24-year-old creation. And this one looks like a Bugatti. This is really an awesome car. The Mars One project over there, have you heard about Mars One? No? This is like a one-way ticket to Mars. So this is a huge, so conquering Mars in 2018 or 2020, one of these things. And Buzz, who's the guy who was running the whole thing, is like really, I think 100,000 people or something now have applied to become an astronaut and be on the trip, even that they know most probably they will not come back. But because the mission is to go there and to set up a base there. Nobody knows if that's going to work. The same thing on the other side, up there, the deep sea. It's a scientific underwater base, which is, some guys are going up to space, some other guys are now going deep down into the sea. So these are the pioneers of these days, seriously, besides Elon Musk. There are also others. And all this stuff. So this is what we are focusing on. So there always is an entrepreneur behind it. A really cool guy that is passionate behind it. And even also female founders, for sure, because this was a topic before. It's pretty cool to say that we are running always a startup competition there, and the last 2 years, 2 female founders won the whole thing. It's pretty awesome. All right. I think that was long enough. So again, the future is ours to create, and you have to ask yourself, are you ready? I think I showed you some ingredients that you can use, and maybe it helped a bit to get you excited about the whole topic. And if you want to see more of that, for sure, you're always welcome to come to the Pioneers Festival in Vienna. It's end of October. Just to give you 1-2 stats, there's about 2,500 to 3,000 people going there, and it's about 60,000 people watching it on live stream. We have the big guys from the US over there. I hope Dave is coming again. Dave McClure has been with us the last 2 years. Some other big guys. Very much looking forward to see you over there. Thank you very much.